Have you ever wanted your animal drawings to look a lot more realistic than they currently are? Then stick around, because in this tutorial, we are going to talk about the best way to achieve realism when it comes to drawing fur, and I'll be demonstrating it with this cat drawing I did. If you are new here, my name is Kojo and I make tutorials on how to make realistic colored pencil art. Now, because we are mostly focusing on the fur, I skipped through the eyes. We'll be looking at that in later videos. I use Prismacolor Premier pencils for this drawing. I like to start out by marking out the very dark areas of the fur, if there are any. This is essential because it gives a general overview of what the drawing is supposed to look like. More like a monochromatic interpretation of the drawing. In this particular drawing, these areas are black, but I like to layer down some dark grey across these regions before layering black on top. This helps to create a sense of depth because black can be very flat if used alone. I then start with the base layer. This is the lightest tone that goes across the entire area being colored. You can get to know this tone by carefully studying the reference photo. It is a tone that appears to be seen underneath the fur. In this instance, it was a very pale yellow, and I used cream to represent this. So we do not do any fur strokes at this stage, just making a flat layer of the base tone. This helps to create depth and therefore more realism, as it prevents more of the white of the paper from showing through in the final layers. Now let's talk about the fur strokes. The most important things to take note of with regards to the fur are the length, direction and volume. So around the bridge of the nose, the fur here appears to be very short, therefore I make very short strokes, making sure I follow in the direction and contour of the face. Also, when drawing fur, layer as much as possible to create a sense of volume. We will be blending these initial strokes with a solvent, so it's important to have as much pigment on the paper as possible so that the blending looks smooth and not smudgy. Also, the type of paper you use is absolutely crucial. For fur, I prefer to use a rough textured paper. I use the Bristol vellum paper for this. This is because it can accept more layers, and in order to draw realistic fur, you do need a lot of layers. So as you see here, I'm following the contour of the face while making the strokes and making them lengthier where they have to be. Now it's important to create all those tiny bits of intercrossings between the furs in order to have a more natural look. If you've enjoyed watching this so far, don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more tips and tutorials. So this is the first layer of fur, and it does look good, but it will get better when we blend it out. I use a turpentine based solvent to blend out the layers. I start from the light areas of the drawing before moving into the dark areas. In instances where I start with the dark areas, I make sure I clean the brush thoroughly before moving into the lighter areas in order to prevent messing up the colors. So immediately you can tell how realistic it has started looking. The solvent essentially breaks down the pigments of the pencils and spreads them across the paper to help conceal or cover the white of the paper. Once again, this creates depth, and the more depth you have, the more realistic your drawings will look. Anyway, if you are new to colored pencil art, I have a free ebook that goes in depth about the basics of realistic colored pencil art, so I'll put a link in the description below so you can check it out. Now for the second layer of face, I wait for the solvent to dry out for about 5 to 10 minutes. I go in with the same colors to reinforce the initial or first layers. This again creates more volume. Be sure to use different shades of colors as per the reference photo. The more colors you use, the more vibrant and realistic the drawing will turn out. So I do my second blending, again all in an attempt to create more depth and volume. You can create as many layers as you want, but usually by the time I'm done with my second blending, it looks realistic enough and I'm ready to go in with my last or third layer. Now the final layer is more about details, making sure the highlights get brighter and the darks get darker. If there are any whiskers, this is the time to draw them in. Also, when you blend with solvent, it becomes very easy to put additional layers on top of the blended layer, and it's one of the reasons why I enjoy using the solvent method to blend. So this is the final drawing, and as you can tell, it looks very realistic. If you're interested in more tips and tutorials, once again, don't forget to subscribe. Also, don't forget to like this video if you've enjoyed it. See you in the next one.